They've been rewarded with access, respect, and the fact that we can all still dress like truckers and convicts and have the respect to come here and talk to you is an incredible shift, I think, in the industry. And I want to talk a little bit about how you.
I was meaning to talk to you about your hat.
Yeah, sorry about that. Well, it's summertime, and I need to protect my continent. Design education is just the first thing I'd like to talk about. I teach design from time to time in Minneapolis and love it. I've recently accepted a position to be on the advisory board for the College of Visual Arts in St. Paul, and we just finished redesigning the College of Design in University of Minnesota. I was inspired by your presentation in St. Paul surrounding design entrepreneurialism. And
was I in St. Paul?
Barely, just by feet, I think, just across the river. There is a curriculum that has not been written yet for educating designers around entrepreneurialism. And I guess I'm curious, do you find yourself creating that curriculum now?
Well, it's an interesting question because I'm not sure whether it even should be a curriculum.
Really?
We have here, Lita Tellerico and I are co-chairs of the MFA Designer as Author program, which also sometimes calls itself the Designer as Entrepreneur program. It's a graduate program. And I believe, it should only be a graduate program because there's an awful lot to becoming a designer, particularly a graphic designer now, particularly with all these multiple platforms that designers must be involved in. And the time in which one has to learn the technology as well as techniques, as well as how to think, is so short in the undergraduate area that to suggest that these students should learn how to be entrepreneurs may be kind of counterproductive, because before they can be entrepreneurs, they have to be practitioners. And so the curriculum, if that's the right word, happens after you get out of school. While you're in school, it's still possible to say, think about what you want to say autobiographically and try to make that into a product. But it's as good a project for an undergraduate as it is an outcome for a business. So if you start thinking about ideas and you think, what idea do I have that could benefit this or that, or how can I change something in the marketplace, it becomes an exercise. But I wouldn't label it entrepreneurism. I would just label it as yet another design exercise. Once you get out, once you get some experience, then it's time to see whether indeed you can spread those wings and move into another area. On the other hand, there are people now, more and more of them. My son, for example, who's 19 and a half, who
knows everything now.
Well, he knows a lot, but he also knows that with all the media at his disposal, he can make T-shirts.
Sure.
He can make stickers, and he can sell them. So I think built into the current generation is a sense of entrepreneurship. I just wouldn't necessarily encourage it as a codified program for undergraduate yet.
Maybe curriculum is the incorrect word, Stephen, and maybe poison is the same word, is a better word of how do you poison undergrad programs with this idea and find some way of influencing. I think there's been a sea change, and I don't think it's just being anecdotal. The reason I think on a practical level there's a sea change is that for our small pirate design company, which we are, pirates, we are getting interns from the Carlson School of Management, Masters of Business. They're sending interns to us, and that's just terrible. Or that's wonderful, depending on how you look at it.
Well, why would you say it's terrible?
Because it's terrible that they, I think, are having the same problem trying to scramble for how do they do this, because they see the same opportunity for design entrepreneurism. And it's terrible, I think, in a great way, in that they've had to break their curriculum down. I mean, this is a respected MBA program. They are going to design companies and bringing in designers to work in their MBA program. And I've had the fortune of working with their MBA program for the past couple of years.
Well, I think that's a growing trend. I mean, there are MBA programs all over the place that are integrating designers because they understand the value of good design in attracting a consumer.
I don't know that.
There's the Harvard program. There are a bunch of programs that are doing that kind of synthesis. But I think what they're doing really is saying, okay, we understand now the value of design, and we need designers to be on our team as part of our calculus. But that's not necessarily in and of itself entrepreneurism. That's just good business thinking. And that's great for designers, because more and more designers will become involved. It's not unlike architects who bring graphic designers into their programs as well. They need signage, they need wayfinding, they need even brochures and catalogs and the like that graphic designers can do, and that architects maybe once upon a time dabbled in, but now there's more of an integration.
It's interesting you bring up the architecture, because we work with quite a few architects, and we do design work for quite a few architects, and love it. There is a tension between architects and designers that I've often enjoyed, but often is consternating. There's a discipline tension between the two that I am not experiencing with the MBA people, because there's a hunger with the business people that I haven't seen before.
Well, the business people don't understand design.
Yeah, they don't get it.
I mean, it's like I was with a friend who's a doctor, and I just hung on every one of his words. But if I was sitting at the same table with you talking about design, I'd probably interrupt 50 times.
Sure.
We know the same language. The doctor, in this case, he's an oncologist, he was telling me stories, fascinating things that I could never in a million years figure out, because I'm too old to go to medical school. But MBAs, they see this thing that we sometimes jargonistically refer to as design, and sometimes we refer to it on a more mass market accessibility scale. And they're fascinated until they learn the language. There's a danger in being too open source.